The crystal vase slips in my hands as I arrange the last pink peony. My fingers catch it before it crashes, but not before the sharp edge bites into my thumb. I watch a tiny bead of blood well up, bright against my skin. Just one more imperfection to add to my collection: the chipped polish on my nails, the coffee stain on my sleeve, the tension headache pulsing behind my eyes. Perfect. I whisper the word like a prayer, stepping back to survey the grand ballroom at the Riverside Hotel. White tablecloths float over 30 round tables, each one crowned with the flower arrangements I've spent the last 3 hours perfecting. The late afternoon sun streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across the parquet floor. In 6 hours, this room will host my parents' 25th anniversary celebration. My phone buzzes. Again. The screen lights up with my sister Jessica's text. "Are the place cards done?" Mom's freaking about the seating chart. Before I can respond, another message pops up from my brother. "Hey Em, you remember Dad's cousin from Phoenix, right? The one with the shellfish allergy?" I close my eyes, drawing in a slow breath. The place cards are done. They've been done since last week. The seating chart has gone through 12 revisions. And yes, I remembered Cousin Robert's allergy. Just like I remembered Aunt Margaret needs a chair with arms, and Uncle Pete can't sit near the speakers because of his hearing aid. The phone rings. "Mom." "Emily? The caterer needs the final head count. And you did remember your father's cousin from Phoenix?" "Yes, Mom. Everything's handled." I rub my temples, watching a waiter wheel in the gift table. He positions it exactly where I marked with blue tape this morning. 78 guests, and Robert's meal especially marked. What would we do without you? The words should warm me, but they land like stones in my stomach. "Oh, and can you check if—" "Actually, Mom?" The words slip out before I can stop them. "I was thinking, maybe I could just attend. You know, as a guest this time?" A pause. Then a light laugh that makes my throat tight. "Oh, honey, who would pull this off if not you? You know how these things go." Yes, I do. I see myself at 16, staying up until 3 a.m. to finish Mom's surprise 40th birthday decorations while Jessica and Mark slept. I remember the monthly drives home from college to help Dad organize the family business paperwork. Last year, I took 2 weeks of unpaid leave to salvage Mark's wedding when his planner quit. "Emily will handle it, she always does." "You're right." My voice sounds distant to my own ears. "I'll handle it." The phone buzzes again as soon as I hang up. "Jessica, we'd be lost without you. Just do what you always do. You're so good at it." Mark's voicemail follows. You know I'd just mess it up. Besides, Seattle's too far. You've got this, right?" I walk to the ladies' room, needing a moment just to breathe. The champagne dress I bought specially for tonight hangs on the back of the door. The silk catches the light, promising something different. Something special. My reflection stares back at me as I slip it on. The color warms my skin, the cut elegant but understated. For once, I look like someone who belongs at the party, not behind the scenes. Will they even see me in this? I whisper to my reflection. She doesn't answer. The next few hours blur into a checklist of final details. Check the sound system. Confirm the timing with the MC. Review the slideshow one last time. My phone never stops buzzing. When the first guests arrive, everything is perfect. Every detail exactly as Mom and Dad dreamed. I stand back, watching family fill the room with laughter and warmth. "Emily?" My cousin Rachel touches my arm. "I think they sat you at the vendor table near the MC, you know, closer to logistics?" The words hit like ice water. "What?" I walk to the family table, the one I arranged myself, with the special chargers and the extra centerpiece. Place cards mark seats for Mom, Dad, Jessica, Mark, their spouses. Aunts, uncles, cousins. But not me. "Oh, honey." Mom appears beside me, patting my arm. Her diamond bracelet catches the light. "We thought you'd prefer being with the team. Didn't want to drag you into formalities." The room spins slightly. The buzz of conversation, the clink of glasses, the soft music from the string quartet, it all blurs into white noise. I look down at my champagne dress, at my carefully styled hair, at the tiny cut on my thumb that hasn't quite stopped bleeding. I've spent 25 years making sure everyone in my family shines. I never realized that meant I had disappeared. My legs shake as I approach Mom near the string quartet. The music flows around us, a waltz my brother picked for the first dance. the one I actually selected. Should I just squeeze in here? My voice catches. I gesture to the family table where aunts, uncles, and cousins crowd together, shoulders touching as they lean in to share stories. Mom adjusts her pearl necklace, the one Dad gave her on their 20th anniversary. Oh, sweetie, you'll be much more comfortable at the vendor table. That way you can coordinate with the MC about the timing. She pats my arm, already turning toward Jessica, who's waving from across the room. Besides, you're always saying you need to stay on top of things. The MC taps his microphone, and the feedback pierces through the quartet's music. Ladies and gentlemen, what a beautiful evening. Before we begin the celebrations, let's give a big hand to the incredible planning team that made this evening possible. I hold my breath waiting for my name. The wonderful staff here at the Riverside Hotel, our outstanding caterers, and the talented musicians. The applause washes over me like cold water. I clutch my champagne glass tighter, knuckles white against the crystal stem. The slideshow starts, images flowing across the screen. Dad teaching Mark to ride a bike, Mom and Jessica making Christmas cookies, family vacations at Lake Tahoe. Each photo I spent weeks selecting, carefully arranging into a story of 25 years of love. But as the pictures scroll past, my throat tightens. Out of 60 photographs, I appear in exactly 2. The first, half hidden behind a Christmas tree. The second, a blur of motion as I set up Mom's birthday cake. Mark, this is incredible. Uncle Pete claps my brother on the shoulder. You really outdid yourself with this presentation. Mark grins, accepting the praise. Thanks, just wanted to do something special for Mom and Dad. I slip between clusters of guests, their voices blending together. Such thoughtful children. Always ready to help. You must be so proud of what you've raised. A warm hand touches my elbow. Aunt Margaret stands beside me, her eyes soft behind her glasses. She leans close, voice low. You look beautiful tonight, Emily. That dress is stunning on you. Before I can respond, Mom calls everyone together for photos. Emily, you take them. You have such an eye for these things. The camera feels heavy in my hands. Through the viewfinder, I watch my family arrange themselves. Mom and Dad in the center, Jessica and Mark flanking them with their spouses. Aunts and uncles filling in the edges. A perfect family portrait. Wait, Dad frowns, looking around. Was it Jessica or Emily who put all this together? One of the girls, anyway. The camera slips slightly in my grip. Jessica laughs, high and bright. Dad, Emily's been planning this for months. You know how she is about details. Right. He nods, already turning back to pose. Emily, make sure you get everyone in frame. The pictures are done and I step out. My phone buzzes. A text from Rachel, my best friend since 3rd grade. You look beautiful. Are you actually enjoying yourself for once? The words blur on the screen. I blink hard, thumb hovering over the keyboard. Finally, I open the family group chat instead. Everything's running smoothly. I'll step out early to recharge. Love you all. The valet brings my car around. I sit behind the wheel, hands trembling as I pull up the Alaska Airlines website. The purchase ticket button glows in the darkness of my car. Outside, through the ballroom windows, I can see my family laughing, dancing, celebrating. They don't notice when I drive away. 20 minutes later, at home, I pull my passport from the drawer where it sat unused for 5 years. My suitcase lies open on the bed, half packed with warm sweaters and thermal layers. The journal Mom gave me last Christmas, still blank, waiting for words. The family group chat stays silent. I stand at my window watching the city lights flicker like distant stars. From somewhere deep inside, a truth rises that I've spent my whole life trying not to hear. Sometimes the loudest statement is an empty chair. 2 hours later, my coat bunches under my head, making a lumpy pillow against the airport terminal's plastic seat. The flight to Anchorage boards in 3 hours. My phone screen glows in the pre-dawn darkness. 47 notifications from the family group chat. I click into Instagram instead, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Sometimes you have to go where no one expects anything from you. The words flow out before I can second-guess them. My thumb hovers over the post button. The old Emily would never. The old Emily would already be home, sorting through party cleanup details, answering endless questions about leftover cake and rental returns. I press post. Then I open my phone settings and turn off notifications from the family chat. The silence fills my chest like the first breath after swimming underwater too long. Later that evening, the lights break over the horizon as our plane lifts off, painting the clouds in shades of pearl and rose gold. I press my forehead against the cold window, watching Seattle disappear beneath us. Somewhere down there, my family wakes to find my empty apartment. My neatly written note, "Taking some time, I'll call when I'm ready." The Anchorage landscape hits me like a reset button the next morning we land. White stretches in every direction, broken only by dark forests and jagged mountains. No to-do lists, no expectations. No careful smiles, and, of course, I can handle that. The tour van bumps along icy roads toward my lodging, carrying me and 6 other travelers seeking winter solitude. First time in Alaska? I turn to find kind eyes watching me from the seat across the aisle. Silver hair, artist's hands stained with charcoal, a sketchbook balanced on her knee. First time traveling alone, I admit. She nods, understanding filling her face. I started traveling solo after my Henry passed. It gets easier. A smile touches her eyes. Then it gets wonderful. An hour later, my cabin door closes behind me with a soft click. Silence wraps around me like a blanket, no phone buzzing, no voices calling my name, no lists of needs to fulfill. The panic rises fast and hard, squeezing my chest. My hands shake as I unpack my small bag, hanging up the clothes I grabbed without thinking. The silence screams in my ears. I grab my phone, muscle memory reaching for the family chat. The notifications are still off. No one has tried to call. No private messages asking where I am. My new journal lies on the bed, leather cover still stiff and uncreased. The first words spill onto the blank page. Did I disappear, or was I never really there? I took a shower, then went to explore the surroundings, and came back for dinner later that day to encounter a meeting of new people, my new friends. The lodge's common room glows with firelight. Sarah, the nurse from Minneapolis, ladles salmon stew into ceramic bowls while telling us about her own burnout journey. 6 years in the ICU, she says, passing me a steaming bowl. One day I walked out mid-shift. Bought a ticket to Alaska that night. Her laugh holds no apology. Sometimes the only way to stop drowning is to let go of the rope they're using to pull you under. Mike, the Montana hiker with wild gray hair and weathered skin, teaches me to build a fire in the stone hearth. My first attempt collapses into smoke. The second catches, flames dancing between the logs. "Look at that," he says, pride warming his voice. "You've got the touch." Margaret, the silver-haired artist, sets up her easel by the window. Her charcoal moves in swift strokes across the paper as I stare into the fire. "You have such presence when you think no one's watching," she murmurs. I turn to find my own profile taking shape on her page, head lifted, firelight catching the angles of my face. The woman in the drawing looks nothing like the Emily who fades into the background of family photos. A laugh bubbles up from somewhere deep inside me, surprising us both. It sounds nothing like my careful chuckle at family gatherings. This laugh belongs to someone else entirely. The Northern Lights tour leaves at midnight. We strap on snowshoes following our guide into the silent forest. Snow crunches beneath our feet. The air bites at our faces, sharp and clean. "Look up," our guide whispers. The sky explodes into ribbons of green and violet, dancing across the stars. My breath catches. The other travelers gasp and point, but I stand motionless, neck craned back, watching the lights paint the darkness. "You know what I love about the aurora?" Our guide's voice carries quiet in the crystal air. "It doesn't demand attention, it just shows up, and people travel across the world to see it." The tears freeze on my cheeks. I reach up to brush them away, but they've already turned to diamonds in the starlight. Back in my cabin later that night, I pull out my journal. The words flow faster now, sure and steady. Maybe I was never meant to serve. Maybe I was meant to shine. The northern lights dance outside my window, casting green shadows across the page. For the first time in my life, I'm not arranging anyone else's view of them. I'm not making sure everyone has the right angle, the perfect photo opportunity, the best experience. I'm just watching them shine. And somehow, impossibly, that feels like enough. My phone lights up for the first time in 3 days. The screen fills with notifications, cascading like dominoes. I watch them stack up from my cabin's window seat, the Alaskan wilderness stretching white and endless beyond the glass. Mom's voicemail comes first. Where were you, Emily? You left without saying anything. Call me back immediately. Mark's text follows. You really scared, Mom. Could have told us you were leaving. Jessica chimes in with 4 messages in rapid succession. Did you schedule the florist for Mom's garden club next week? Emily, this isn't funny. Mom's freaking out about who's going to coordinate Christmas. At least tell us where you are. I press my forehead against the cold window, watching my breath fog the glass. 3 days of silence, and their first concerns are about logistics. The garden club. Christmas coordination. The familiar weight settles in my chest, but this time I let it pass through me like the pale winter sunlight. My fingers hover over the keyboard before I type, Family meeting, FaceTime, 7 p.m. your time tomorrow. Their responses flood in instantly. Mom wants to talk now. Jessica has a PTA meeting. Mark mentions the time difference from Seattle. 7 p.m. Eastern. Non-negotiable. The next evening, I position my laptop carefully. The window behind me frames the snow-covered peaks, and the setting sun paints the sky in shades of rose and amber. I've chosen this backdrop deliberately a visual reminder that I'm not in their world anymore. Their faces pop up one by one. Mom in her reading glasses, Dad still in his work shirt, Jessica in her kitchen, Mark with his Seattle skyline visible through floor-to-ceiling windows. Their expressions shift from relief to confusion as they take in my location. Emily? Mom leans closer to her screen. Where are you? Alaska. The word falls into the silence like a stone into still water. I needed some distance. Alaska? Mark's eyebrows shoot up. What about your job? I took leave. My voice remained steady, practiced from 3 days of rehearsing this moment. I did say something at the anniversary party. You just didn't think it was serious because I've never walked away before. What do you mean you said something? Jessica's forehead creases. You just disappeared. I told Mom I wanted to attend as a guest. I asked to sit with my family. I spent 3 hours watching everyone celebrate while I stood in the background, exactly where you've always put me. Dad's face goes still. Mom's hand flies to her throat, a gesture I've seen 1,000 times when she's caught off guard. We honestly thought you were happiest organizing things, Mom says, her voice small. You're so good at it. The laugh that escapes me holds no humor. That's the problem. You didn't see me at all. You saw a function, a resource. The reliable daughter who handles everything so no one else has to be inconvenienced. Jessica shifts in her seat. Mark looks down at his hands. Their discomfort radiates through the screen. From now on, things will be different. I straighten my spine, channeling the strength of the mountains behind me. If I organize anything, it will be because I choose to, and I expect clear acknowledgement. If I say I'm tired, believe me the first time. If I attend family events, I attend as Emily, your daughter and sister, not your unpaid coordinator. The silence stretches. I watch them process my words, their faces a familiar map of reactions I've memorized over 3 decades. I am your daughter, I continue, my voice catching slightly. Not your event planner, not your secretary, not your safety net. Dad clears his throat. His eyes, so like mine, meet my gaze through the screen. I don't think I've ever really asked what you wanted. The simple admission cracks something open in my chest. Mom wipes at her eyes, smudging her mascara. I took advantage. Mark's words come slowly. It was easier to let you handle everything. I knew you would. We all did. Jessica's voice wavers. I never stopped to think what it cost you. The sun has nearly set behind me. Soon the stars will emerge, and if I'm lucky, the aurora will paint the sky in ribbons of light. My family's faces glow blue in their separate screens, waiting for my response. I'm extending my stay in Alaska. But Christmas, Mom starts. Will happen without my organizing it. I touch my screen gently, an echo of the way I used to squeeze her hand. You'll figure it out, you have to. When will you come home, Dad asks. I look out at the deepening twilight. The scariest part wasn't leaving. It was realizing I should have done it sooner. I'll come home when I'm ready. When I'm sure you see me, really see me and, not just the roles I've played. The silence that follows holds more truth than any words could carry. In 5 separate frames, a family confronts the shape of their daughter's absence, and a daughter learns the power of her own voice. Behind me, the first stars begin to shine. The messages start arriving at dawn. My phone vibrates against the wooden nightstand, each buzz like a small accusation. Mom's crying again. She burned the casserole for the church potluck. Jessica's text glows in the darkness. You know she always relied on your timing. I watch the sun rise over the Alaskan mountains through my cabin window, painting the snow in shades of rose gold. My fingers hover over the keyboard, ready with the automatic response, the offer to call Mom, to walk her through the recipe timing, to fix everything. Instead, I set the phone face down. The next message comes from Mark during my morning walk along the frozen shoreline. The quarterly business review is next week. Dad's completely lost without your spreadsheets. A pause then. Come on, Em, you've made your point. Have I? The question follows me as I crunch through fresh snow, my breath clouding in the crisp air. Back in my cabin, I pull out my journal, no longer the meticulous to-do lists and family schedules, but pages filled with watercolor sketches of the aurora, notes about the play of light on ice, observations of the wild quiet that fills spaces where obligations used to live. Sometimes healing looks like disappointing people. I write. The words don't shake my hand anymore. My art teacher Martha calls me over during afternoon class the next day. Your brushstrokes are bolder today, she says, studying my attempt to capture last night's aurora. The painting won't win awards, the colors bleed together in places, the composition lacks technical skill, but the joy of creation radiates from every imperfect line. I used to think I couldn't take up space, I tell her, adding another streak of green to the sky. Even on canvas. The afternoon light slants through the studio windows when my boss calls. Emily, the conference planning committee needs you. We're absolutely swamped with the annual meeting coming up. 5 years of organizing company events flash through my mind: late nights, missed weekends, endless crisis management. My answer surprises us both. I'll be taking my full vacation time this year. Susan from marketing showed interest in event planning. She might appreciate the opportunity. Silence crackles across the connection. Then, I didn't realize you were serious about seeing back. Neither did I. The truth of it warms me like sunlight. Later, I find myself on the gallery website, cursor hovering over the application for their summer photography workshop. The old voice whispers, "Who do you think you are? What makes you special enough to create instead of serve?" I fill out the application. My hands don't shake. Mom's FaceTime call comes as I'm watching the sunset paint the mountains purple. Her face fills my screen, lined with worry that makes my stomach clench. Things are falling apart here, Emily. The Foundation's annual gala is in shambles. Your father's office is a disaster. Mark's kids miss their aunt. We need you to come back. The familiar guilt rises like bile. But behind it, something else grows stronger: the certainty that came with the first glimpse of aurora lights dancing across an endless sky. The understanding that some patterns must break to be reborn. That's exactly why I can't come back yet. My voice stays gentle but firm. The mountain stands silent witness behind me. You need to learn who you are without me managing everything, and I need to learn who I am without managing everyone. But we're family, Mom's voice cracks. Families help each other. Yes, they do. I touch the screen where her cheek would be, but help shouldn't cost someone their soul. Dad appears behind her, his reading glasses crooked like always. But something shifts in his expression as he studies me through the screen, really sees me. Maybe for the first time. I've spent so long being the answer to everyone's problems. I tell them both that I forgot how to answer my own questions. The truth feels like breaking fever. I forgot I was allowed to have questions at all. Mom starts to speak, but Dad touches her shoulder. We did this, he says quietly. Didn't we? We made you responsible for our happiness. The admission hangs between us like the northern lights, beautiful and terrible in its clarity. I'm not coming back to fix everything, I say, but I will come back to build something new, when we're all ready. After we hang up, I stand at my window, watching stars pierce the darkening sky. My reflection overlaps their light, a woman I'm just beginning to recognize, her edges no longer blurred by everyone else's needs. In my journal, I write, the hardest part about finding your voice isn't learning to speak. It's learning to stop apologizing for having something to say. The aurora flames across the night, green and violet ribbons dancing above the snow. I take out my camera, adjusting the settings with growing confidence. Not perfect, not servile. Just present, claiming my space under these impossible lights. My phone buzzes one last time. A text from Jessica. I signed up for a cooking class. I thought it was time I learned to read a recipe without calling you. I miss you, but I'm starting to understand. I smile, letting the message sit unanswered for now. Outside my window, the lights continue their eternal dance, asking nothing, demanding nothing, simply being. Tomorrow, I'll try to paint them again. The day after, maybe I'll write about them. Or maybe I'll just watch, learning from their quiet radiance how to illuminate my own sky. The night deepens. I remain awake, watchful, finally author of my own story. In this atmosphere, 3 weeks passed, and now it was time to return home. The front door of my apartment clicks shut behind me. 3 weeks in Alaska changed more than just my perspective, it rearranged my soul. My suitcase stands by the door, but I leave it there, walking through rooms that suddenly feel foreign. Everything looks exactly as I left it, yet nothing feels the same. The filing cabinet stuffed with family birthday lists and event timelines. The drawer of emergency supplies for last-minute celebrations. The calendar marked with everyone's appointments but my own. Time to redecorate, I whisper, my voice stronger than it used to be. I spend the next hour moving furniture. The heavy oak desk that anchored my role as family secretary now faces the window instead of the wall. Sunlight streams across its surface, warming the wood. In its place, I hang the photograph I took under the aurora borealis, streaks of green and violet dancing across a star-filled sky. The frame cost more than I'd usually spend, but watching the northern lights paint themselves across my wall feels worth every penny. My phone buzzes. 3 separate texts about the upcoming charity auction Mom chairs every spring. I delete them without responding. The family group chat pings with my cousin's baby shower plans. Another delete. My brother needs help coordinating Dad's retirement party. No, I say aloud to the empty room, and the word feels clean and bright on my tongue. Not this time. The afternoon mail brings a postcard. Mom's familiar handwriting covers both sides, cramped and urgent. You deserved better. I see that now. Please come home when you're ready as our daughter, not our help. My fingers trace the edges of the card. The words sink in slowly, like snow melting into soil. She's trying. They all are. Sunday dinner looms like a test. I drive to my parents' house, empty-handed, no casserole, no dessert, no clipboard of conversation topics to keep things running smoothly. Just me, wearing a soft green sweater and carrying nothing but my car keys. Mark opens the door. His eyes drop to my empty hands, then back to my face. Hey, Em. He steps aside, then hovers awkwardly. I'm supposed to be setting the table. Want to show me how? He catches himself. Never mind, I'll figure it out. The sounds from the kitchen are different tonight. Pots clang. Something smells like it's burning. My sister's kids race past with handfuls of silverware, giggling as they arrange place settings with more enthusiasm than accuracy. Mom appears in the doorway, flour streaked across her cheek. Emily, you're early. She wipes her hands on her apron, starts to reach for me, then pulls back. I mean, you're right on time. Just on time. I smile. Need help? No. The word bursts from her like a firecracker. I mean, yes, but no, Jessica's kids are handling dessert. We're learning. It's messy, but we're learning. The table looks nothing like my perfectly arranged settings of the past. Forks point different directions. The napkins are unfolded. Someone put the water glasses on the left. But when we sit down, the food is hot, the conversation flows, and for the first time in years, I can focus on chewing instead of orchestrating. Dad stands, lifting his glass. The light catches his wedding ring, the same one I polished every anniversary until it sparkled. To Emily, he says, voice rough. Not for what she does, but for who she is. The words land like petals. Soft, weightless, real. After dinner, Mom catches me in the hallway. Would you? She twists her fingers together. The holiday party. Would you teach me? Not do it, just show me how. I want to learn. I study her face, the new lines around her eyes, the way she holds herself like she's afraid of taking up too much space, just like I used to. Yes, I tell her. I'll teach you, but you do the work. She nods, relief softening her shoulders. In the living room, Mark struggles with the coffee maker. Jessica's kids stack dishes with exaggerated care. My father white counter without being asked. That night, I drive to the outskirts of town where the city lights fade. The spring sky spreads above me, a whisper of green dancing at the Edgesaur local version of the aurora. I set up my camera, frame the shot, and step into it. The timer clicks. In the photo, half my face glows green and violet, like an echo of Alaska's sky. I post it online with words that feel like truth. You weren't born to serve. You were born to shine. My phone lights up with notifications. Not from family this time, but from strangers sharing their own stories of invisibility and emergence. A woman who left her law firm after 30 years of making coffee. A man who stopped coaching his son's team to finally write his novel. A teacher who learned to say no to unpaid overtime. I put my phone in my lap and pick up the course catalog from the local arts center. My first painting class starts Tuesday. Next month, I interview for a photography expedition to Iceland. My calendar fills with my own dreams instead of other people's needs. The northern lights shimmer in my car window, reflected in the glass as I drive back to my apartment. I watch them dance, remembering what the guide in Alaska told me. The aurora doesn't demand attention, it just shows up, and people travel across the world to see it. I touch the window glass, my fingerprint leaving a mark on the pane. Some journeys cross oceans, others cross the boundaries we build inside ourselves. Both kinds change you forever. Looking at my rear window, I see a face who finally owns her light. She doesn't hide it under perfect table settings or flawless schedules. She lets it spill out, messy and beautiful, painting the sky with her own colors. I pull over, then pick up my phone one last time, adding a question to my post. The scariest journey isn't to Alaska, it's to your authentic self. Have you ever had to leave to be seen, or did you find another way? Your story might help someone else find their voice. The comments flow in, and each one a small light joining mine. Together we shine. I step out of the Uber and stare up at Amberwood Estate, a sprawling vineyard mansion that glows like a diamond against the dusky Napa Valley sky. My olive green gown, the one I saved 3 months to buy, suddenly feels inadequate against the backdrop of such opulence. Crystal chandeliers sparkle through massive windows. Champagne fountains catch the last golden rays of sunset. A string quartet plays something classical that floats across manicured grounds. My sister spent $240,000 on her perfect wedding, and $0 to hide how much she despised me. I check my lipstick in my compact mirror, buying a moment before I have to walk in. The reflection shows what I've practiced. Composed, professional, unbothered. It's the face I've perfected through years of Sloane's little digs and big betrayals. Aria, you finally made it. Sloane glides toward me in a cloud of white silk and expensive perfume, her smile bright but not quite reaching her eyes. At 29, my little sister has mastered the art of the performance, especially when others are watching. Everyone, she announces to a nearby cluster of guests, her voice pitched to Carrie. This is my sister, Aria, my forever single sister. Mia. The guests titter politely. One older woman gives me a sympathetic smile that makes my stomach clench. She's always been career-focused. Sloane, stage whispers, loud enough for everyone within 15 feet to hear. Some women just aren't meant for love. So, I swallow the retort rising in my throat and force a smile. Congratulations, Sloane. Everything looks beautiful. The hostess directs me to my assigned seat. Table 14, tucked beside swinging kitchen doors where servers rush in and out. Each time they pass, my chair gets bumped, sending little ripples through my half-empty wine glass. I survey my table mates, 3 other singles who look as uncomfortable as I feel, and Great Aunt Martha, whose hearing aid whistles occasionally. Still being too picky about men, dear? Martha shouts, her voice carrying across 3 tables. Tick-tock. I take a long sip of wine instead of answering. Across the room, Sloane holds court at the head table, radiant in her designer gown. Our father Charles sits beside her, avoiding my gaze when I try to catch his eye. Mom gives me an apologetic glance before looking away quickly. A server bumps my chair again, harder this time. I steady my glass and think about the teenage Sloane who stole my prom date, Jason Miller, quarterback with kind eyes, while our parents said, "Let her have this one, Aria. You know how she gets." And I did. I knew exactly how she got. How she always got everything she wanted while I was expected to be the reasonable one, the one who stepped aside, the one who kept the peace. During dinner, Sloane taps her crystal glass and stands for a toast. Her speech is a masterpiece of thinly veiled barbs wrapped in sisterly affection. To my big sister, who's always been my role model, she says, raising her glass in my direction. Arya, who is so married to her career she forgot to find a husband. Laughter ripples through the crowd. I maintain my smile, though my cheeks ache with the effort. A woman at the next table whispers to her companion, just loud enough for me to hear. Poor thing. Later, as guests mingle during the cocktail hour, Preston Hale, investment banker, tennis player, and now my brother-in-law, spots me alone by the bar and waves me over to meet his family. This is Arya, Sloane's sister, he says. She runs marketing for that tech firm in Seattle. Before I can elaborate, Sloane appears, slipping her arm possessively through Preston's. This is my sister, she announces to his relatives, the family spinster. The crowd's reaction ranges from uncomfortable chuckles to outright pity. An older woman pats my hand. You still have time, dear, she assures me. Have you considered freezing your eggs? My niece did it last year. Others chime in with helpful suggestions about dating apps and mutual friends who are such nice men, also single. One woman asks if I've tried wearing more feminine colors than olive green. I nod and smile through it all, the way I've been trained to do, the way that's expected. When the photographer gathers everyone for family photos, he calls out for immediate family only and gestures me to step aside. I watch as my parents flank Sloane and Preston, beaming with pride while I stand awkwardly with the other guests, nursing a champagne I can't taste anymore. I retreat to the bathroom, lock myself in a stall, and press my forehead against the cool marble wall. My phone shows it's only 8:30. The reception will go until midnight. I slide off my heels, feeling the cold tile against my bare feet. For a moment, I consider leaving, catching an Uber back to my hotel, and texting some excuse about a migraine. It would be so easy to run away, to protect myself from 4 more hours of this calculated humiliation. But that's what she wants. That's what she expects. I slip my heels back on and straighten my shoulders. 1 more hour, I promise myself. Then I'm gone. I'm heading for the restroom again when I hear Sloane's laughter, bright and brittle, coming from a small alcove off the main reception hall. The sound stops me in my tracks. Can you believe that dress? My sister's voice carries despite her attempt at a whisper. She thinks olive is her color. It makes her look like a sad, wilting plant. The bridesmaids' titters follow a chorus of agreement I've heard all my life. And wait until you see what I'm planning for the bouquet toss. Sloane continues. I'm going to aim it right at her, then have the DJ announce she's next, as if. My cheeks burn. I press myself against the wall, suddenly invisible in the hallway's shadow. You're evil, one bridesmaid says, but her tone suggests admiration rather than reproach. I made sure none of the cousins who actually like her are sitting anywhere near her, Sloane says, pride evident in her voice. Did you see her at that reject table? Priceless. The wound deepens when I spot the wedding planner passing by with a stack of place cards. I grab her arm, perhaps too firmly. Excuse me, I whisper. Was there a change to the seating arrangements? The wedding planner, Jennifer, according to her name tag, glances around nervously. I'm not supposed to say anything, but... She pulls a discarded card from her portfolio. It reads, Arya Donovan, Table 3 in elegant calligraphy, Table 3, with my parents. Where family belongs. The bride requested last-minute changes this morning, Jennifer explains, sympathy softening her professional detachment. I release her arm, nodding my thanks as she hurries away. When I return to the reception, I watch my mother laugh at something Preston's father says. She catches my eye briefly, her smile faltering before she turns deliberately away. Around me, relatives who've known me since birth suddenly find their champagne glasses fascinating when I approach. Sloane has orchestrated more than a seating change. She's conducting an entire symphony of rejection. I slip through French doors leading to the garden, breathing in the night air scented with roses and expensive perfume. My feet hurt. My face aches from smiling. I kick off my heels, ready to walk barefoot to the parking lot, when something shifts inside me. This isn't about me, it's about her insecurity. The thought arrives with startling clarity. Every cruel comment, every orchestrated humiliation, they're not signs of Sloane's power but of her weakness. For the first time tonight, I don't feel hurt. I feel sorry for her. I slide my feet back into my shoes. I won't give her the satisfaction of driving me away. Not tonight. Act like you're with me. Go. The deep voice startles me. A man steps from the shadows of a nearby trellis, moonlight revealing a face I don't recognize. He's tall, with shoulders that fill out his tailored suit impressively, dark hair slightly ruffled by the evening breeze. "Excuse me?" I step back, hand clutching my small purse like it might somehow protect me. "Bennett Walsh," he says, extending his hand. "Preston's cousin from Boston. And you're Aria," the sister being systematically humiliated by the bride. His bluntness knocks me off balance. "I don't know what you're talking about. I was having a smoke behind the rose garden when I overheard your sister talking to some of Preston's college friends." Bennett's expression hardens. "She was describing in detail how she's been isolating you all evening. It was," he pauses, searching for the right word, "calculated. And you're telling me this because?" "Because no one should be treated that way," he says simply, "especially by family." Something in his directness disarms me, but pride makes me lift my chin. I don't need rescuing. A smile tugs at the corner of his mouth. "It's not rescue, it's justice. Big difference." Bennett studies me for a moment. "Look, I'm not suggesting we storm the castle or make a scene. Just walk back in with me. Let people see you're not alone or defeated. Small victories." I consider his offer, weighing my options. Walking away would be easier, safer. But the thought of Sloane's satisfaction when she realizes I've fled makes something stubborn flare in my chest. "One condition," I say. "Don't tell me how sorry you feel for me. I've had enough pity for one night." "Wouldn't dream of it." The respect in his eyes feels unfamiliar but welcome. "Ready?" Bennett offers his arm, and after a moment's hesitation, I take it. His hand comes to rest respectfully at the small of my back as we approach the doors leading back to the reception. The warmth of his palm through the thin fabric of my dress steadies me in a way I hadn't expected. We enter together, and the shift in the room is subtle but immediate. Heads turn. Conversations pause. Sloane, holding court near the gift table, falters mid-sentence when she spots us. The cost of this moment hits me as we move through the crowd. I'm trusting a stranger when trust doesn't come easily. I'm playing a game I never wanted to join. But the confused expressions around us, the subtle recalculation happening behind curious eyes, there's a victory in that. It's small, it's costly. But as Bennett guides me toward the bar, his presence solid beside me, I feel the first ripple of changing perception among the wedding guests. Maybe that's enough for now. Bennett's hand rests at the small of my back as we return to table 14. I feel the gentle pressure, solid and reassuring, as we navigate through clusters of Preston's college friends. Their eyes follow us, curious about this unexpected development. "Aria," Sloane's voice cuts through the chatter. She stands before us, champagne flute delicately pinched between manicured fingers, her wedding dress rustling as she shifts her weight. "You two know each other? How interesting." Her tone suggests it's anything but interesting. It's accusatory. Bennett's hand remains steady against my back. "We go way back," he says, his voice smooth as river stones. "Aria just prefers privacy." I watch my sister's face transform, calculations running behind her eyes like an old computer processing new information. The story doesn't fit her narrative, and I can almost hear the gears grinding as she tries to recalibrate. "Really?" Sloane tilts her head, pearl earrings catching the chandelier light. "Funny how you've never mentioned Bennett before." She turns to him with a brittle smile. "And you've never mentioned my sister." "Some connections don't need announcing," Bennett replies, pulling out my chair. As I settle at the table, Sloane leans closer, her perfume too strong, too sweet. "When exactly did you two meet?" Before I can answer, the DJ's voice booms through speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, in 15 minutes we'll have a special bouquet toss for all the single ladies." He pauses dramatically. "Especially Aria Donovan. Where are you, Aria? Let's get you ready to catch that bouquet." A spotlight swings wildly around the room until it finds me. Guests turn, some smiling, others whispering. The heat of embarrassment crawls up my neck. Sloane straightens, victorious, and floats away toward Preston. My mother appears at my elbow, her silk dress the color of weak tea. "Don't make a scene, dear," she whispers. "It's her special day." After 33 years, I know the script by heart. Swallow the humiliation, keep the peace, be reasonable. "I won't, Mom," I say, not looking up. Mother squeezes my shoulder and disappears back to the family table. "Your mother seems concerned," Bennett observes, his voice low enough that only I can hear. She's always concerned about the wrong things, I reply, surprising myself with the candor. Bennett leans closer. Tell me about your work in Seattle. Marketing strategy, right? The question feels like a lifeline. For the next 10 minutes, we talk about digital campaigns and brand positioning. Bennett asks intelligent questions about market segmentation. I share anecdotes about difficult clients. Our conversation flows effortlessly, without the awkward pauses that usually plague my interactions with strangers. That analytics approach is brilliant, he says after I describe a particularly successful campaign. Most firms are still using outdated metrics. A woman in her 60s stops by our table, her silver hair swept into an elegant updo. Bennett, darling, she says, aren't you going to introduce me to your friend? Mrs. Hathaway. Bennett stands. This is Aria Donovan. Aria, Eleanor Hathaway sits on the board of Westbrook Foundation with my father. I extend my hand, but Mrs. Hathaway pulls me into a light embrace instead. Any friend of Bennett's is a friend of mine, she says, her eyes twinkling with genuine warmth. How long have you two known each other? The question hangs between us, a test. Bennett and I reconnected recently, I say, the words coming easily. Not quite a lie, not quite the truth. It was unexpected but perfectly timed. Mrs. Hathaway pats my arm. The best things usually are, my dear. As she moves away, two more of Preston's relatives approach, then a college friend of Bennett's. With each introduction, I feel my confidence growing. The story of our connection becomes more natural with each telling. Guests who had earlier avoided eye contact now seek me out. Bennett's hand occasionally brushes mine, nothing inappropriate, just enough to signal unity. I realize with startling clarity, I can rewrite this narrative without Sloane's permission. The DJ's voice interrupts again. Time for the bouquet toss, ladies. All single women to the dance floor. The spotlight finds me again, more deliberately this time. Conversations pause as everyone watches, waiting to see if I'll participate in this ritual of public scrutiny. I rise slowly, smoothing my olive dress. Bennett's eyes meet mine, a silent question. I'll be fine, I say, though we both know it's not true. The dance floor clears except for a semicircle of single women, most in their 20s, giggling and shoving each other playfully. I stand slightly apart, aware of the contrast. Sloane takes her position, back turned to us, bouquet raised. Ready, ladies? The DJ calls. 1, 2. Sloane spins around suddenly, her eyes locking on mine. The smile on her face turns predatory as she draws her arm back and throws. The bouquet arcs through the air, not toward the group of eager women, but directly at my face. Before I can react, Bennett steps forward. With the casual grace of a former athlete, he catches the bouquet inches from my nose. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Sloane's mouth opens in shock. Bennett turns to me, offering the flowers with a small bow. They're your favorite, aren't they? He says loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. Peonies and garden roses. I accept the bouquet, fighting the urge to laugh at Sloane's expression, a perfect mixture of fury and disbelief. The crowd breaks into spontaneous applause. Someone whistles. The spotlight swings away, searching for the next moment of entertainment. Two cousins from my mother's side approach our table, both smiling genuinely. Aria, we've been looking for you all night, says the older one, Vanessa. Your table is so far from everyone. Eh? Not anymore, says the younger cousin, Michelle, sliding into an empty chair beside me. Tell us about Seattle. Tell us about Seattle. As we chat, I notice Preston's grandmother, a formidable woman in her 80s, with a reputation for bluntness, making her way toward us. She settles her substantial frame into a chair across from me. So, you're Charles's older girl, she states, adjusting her hearing aid. About time someone in this family showed some sense. The wedding planner hurries over, looking flustered. Miss Donovan, she whispers, I've moved your place card to table 3 for dessert. With your parents. She glances around nervously. It was a mistake. The original seating chart had you there. Bennett rises to greet two men in expensive suits. Aria, he says, these are my colleagues from Westbrook Capital. They've been interested in expanding their marketing reach in the Pacific Northwest. He turns to them with unexpected pride in his voice. Aria is a brilliant strategist. Her campaign for TechSync increased their market share by 22% last quarter. The men look suitably impressed. One hands me his card. For the first time since arriving at Amberwood Estate, I feel a genuine smile form on my lips. I'm not actually alone here. I never was. The orchestra begins playing for the couple's first dance. Bennett extends his hand. May I? On the dance floor, Bennett's lead is confident but unassuming. We move well together, as if we've done this before. I glimpse Sloane watching from the edge of the dance floor, her expression darkening as Preston's relatives nod approvingly in our direction. Halfway through the song, Sloane cuts in, her white dress billowing as she steps between us. Mind if I borrow your date? She asks, not waiting for an answer before placing her hand on Bennett's shoulder. Bennett steps back, creating space between them. His voice carries just enough to reach nearby dancers. You've spent all evening embarrassing your sister. Maybe let her enjoy this one dance. Collapsed. Gasps rise from the couples around us. Preston hurries over, his face flushed beneath his carefully groomed beard. Sloane, honey, your father wants to speak with you, he says, taking her elbow. Sloane's face contorts with frustration. She opens her mouth to object, then seems to remember where she is. With visible effort, she composes herself and allows Preston to lead her away. I remain standing tall, my breathing steady, my expression neutral. I don't gloat. I don't need to. Around us, the music continues. Couples resume dancing, but I notice the glances sympathetic, approving, curious now, directed at me instead of my sister. Later, over cake at table 3, Bennett and I refine our story. We reconnected at a marketing conference in Chicago last month. We've been talking regularly since then. It's new, but promising. It's remarkable how easily you fit into this chaos, I say quietly as my father discusses golf with Preston's uncle. Good partnerships often form under pressure. Bennett replies, his fork capturing a bite of raspberry-filled wedding cake. I notice Preston's family members now greet me with genuine interest. My mother Margaret approaches hesitantly, her fingers twisting her napkin. Aria, she says, I should have checked the seating arrangements. I just assumed. She trails off, unable to finish the sentence. It's fine, Mom, I say, not because it is, but because this isn't the time or place for that conversation. The DJ's voice interrupts again. Gentlemen, it's time for the garter toss. All single men to the dance floor. Bennett squeezes my hand under the table. I believe that's my cue. He joins the small cluster of unmarried men. Preston sits on a chair in the center of the dance floor, Sloane perched on his lap, giggling as he reaches beneath her dress for the garter. The men jockey for position, some feigning disinterest, others clearly eager. Bennett stands slightly apart, tall and composed. When Preston flings the garter, Bennett doesn't lunge or jump. He simply steps forward, arm outstretched, and catches it with deliberate confidence. The crowd cheers. I know what comes next. Tradition dictates that the bouquet catcher and garter catcher share a dance and often serve as predictive entertainment about who might marry next. Across the room, I see Sloane whispering urgently to the wedding planner, who looks increasingly uncomfortable. The spotlight swings toward me once again, waiting. I have seconds to decide. Retreat to the shadows or step fully into this unexpected light. The DJ's voice booms across the reception hall. And now, tradition calls for our garter and bouquet winners to share a special moment. A spotlight finds me, standing frozen with the bouquet clutched in my hands. Across the dance floor, Bennett holds the garter, his eyes finding mine with a question. The crowd parts between us, creating a runway of expectation. Sloane hovers at the edge of the spotlight, her smile stretched tight as cellophane. This is exactly what she wanted me, center stage, about to be humiliated by a wedding tradition that pairs the desperate spinster with a handsome stranger. I take a breath, straighten my shoulders, and step forward. The hushed whispers ripple around me. Go on, someone urges Bennett, who hesitates for just a moment before kneeling. My heart hammers against my ribs as he looks up, his expression serious but eyes warm with reassurance. May I? He asks, voice pitched just for me. I extend my legs slightly, the olive silk of my dress falling away just enough. The room holds its collective breath. Bennett slides the garter only an inch above my ankle, his touch respectful and brief, transforming what could have been mortifying into something almost elegant. When he rises and offers his arm, I take it, turning to face the crowd. Together we bow slightly, as if we'd rehearsed this moment for weeks. Applause breaks out, not the uncomfortable kind but genuine appreciation. Preston's Aunt Margaret, dripping in heirloom pearls and old money, catches my eye and nods approvingly. Two of her friends whisper behind their hands, their gazes following me as Bennett leads me off the dance floor. "You handled that beautifully," Bennett murmurs, his hand warm against the small of my back. "We handled it," I correct him, matching his quiet tone. The moment shatters when Sloane's voice cuts through the music. "Attention, everyone. I'd like to make an impromptu toast to my sister." The wedding planner frowns, checking her clipboard. "This isn't on the schedule." Sloane grabs a microphone, her diamond bracelet catching the light. "You know, watching Arya catch that bouquet reminded me of all her past relationships." Her laugh sounds like breaking glass. "Remember Tom from college? He broke up with her because what was it, Arya? Too intense about her career?" My stomach drops. Every failed relationship, every private heartbreak, laid out like appetizers. Or Michael, who couldn't handle her rigid schedules. Or David, who said she was emotionally unavailable. Sloane surveys the crowd, enjoying their uncomfortable silence. My sister has always been particular. But that's what makes her Arya, right? To my sister, may she find someone someday who truly understands her quirks. Our father Charles laughs awkwardly, the sound hanging in the air like smoke. Mom squeezes my hand under the table, a silent apology that comes 33 years too late. I feel Bennett tense beside me, ready to intervene. I touch his arm lightly, stopping him. This is my battle. I stand, taking the glass of champagne a server has just poured. The room grows quiet. "Thank you, Sloane, for those thoughtful words." My voice comes out steady, surprising even me. It's true. I have had my share of relationships that didn't work out. That's how we learn what we deserve. I pause, letting the words settle. To Sloane and Preston, may your marriage reflect the kindness and consideration you show others. I raise my glass, and the room follows, though several guests exchange glances. Those who understood the double edge of my toast hide smiles behind their glasses. Those who didn't simply nod along, but the message lands where it matters. Sloane's smile falters for a fraction of a second before she recovers, clutching Preston's arm a little too tightly. Later, as Bennett guides me around the dance floor, his hand rests lightly on my waist. "That was remarkable," he says. "You didn't let her make you cruel. That takes strength." I consider this. It would have been easier to match her, punch for punch. But not better. No, I agree, suddenly understanding something I've been missing all these years. My whole life, I thought the choice was between being a doormat or becoming like her. I never saw the third option. Which is standing my ground without becoming the thing I hate. The revelation settles into my bones, straightening my spine. My power isn't in making her small. It's in refusing to play her game. The song ends, but before we can continue, Sloane materializes beside us, her wedding gown rustling like angry whispers. "The photographer wants some sisters-only photos," she announces, already reaching for my arm. "By the fountain. Right now." I recognize the tactic isolation, away from the protective buffer of witnesses, away from Bennett. But we're not in the school playground anymore, and this isn't 15 years ago when I would have obediently followed. "Actually," I begin, but Sloane cuts me off. "It's my wedding day, Arya. One photo won't kill you." The guests nearby watch this exchange, no longer pretending not to listen. Sloane's desperation is becoming obvious, her composure cracking like thin ice. Preston appears beside her, his hand coming to rest on her shoulder. "Honey, maybe we should greet the Andersons. They've been waiting to congratulate us." Sloane shrugs him off. "In a minute. This is important." "Sloane," our mother says, approaching with uncharacteristic firmness. "That's enough for tonight." Sloane's eyes widen in shock. Margaret Donovan has never said no to her youngest daughter, not once in 29 years. The shift is subtle but unmistakable. Like water seeking a new course, the evening's energy redirects. Two of Sloane's college friends approach me with questions about Seattle. Preston's mother, elegant in silver chiffon, invites me to the family brunch tomorrow. The wedding planner consults me about the timing of the cake cutting. Bennett stays close without hovering, his presence a warm anchor through it all. When he excuses himself to get drinks, Sloane's maid of honor leans in to ask about my marketing firm. By the time Bennett returns, I'm surrounded by people genuinely interested in my answers. Across the room, Sloane stands alone for the first time all evening. Her perfect makeup is smudged at the corners of her eyes, frustration seeping through the cracks of her composure. Two bridesmaids exchange concerned glances as they watch her down a glass of champagne. Preston takes her aside, his head bent close to hers, whispering urgently. She shakes her head once, twice, then nods reluctantly. Mom approaches me, her fingers twisting her wedding band the way she does when she's nervous. Arya, she begins, then stops. I should have said something sooner. Not just tonight, all these years. Before I can respond, Dad appears, rocking back on his heels the way he does when he's uncomfortable. Your sister's just high-strung today, he offers, the familiar excuse falling flat against the evening's revelations. I look past him to where Sloane stands, her white gown gleaming under the chandeliers. For the first time, I see her clearly not as the sister who torments me, but as someone so afraid of being overlooked that she'll destroy anyone who might outshine her. And in that moment, I realize I'm free. The evening winds down like a music box losing momentum. Couples drift from the dance floor, high heels are abandoned under tables, and the air smells of cake and fading perfume. I watch it all from a quiet corner, savoring the sweet taste of reclaimed dignity when Sloane appears beside me, her wedding dress whispering against the floor. Arya. Her voice softens to a tone I haven't heard since we were girls sharing bedroom secrets. Let's put this behind us. Family comes first, right? I study her face, the calculated vulnerability, the practiced tilt of her head. The same performance that's worked on me 1,000 times before. We should talk, just us sisters. She touches my arm. Girl talk with my sister. Preston understands. Her words hang between us like sponge sugar sweet, fragile, and ultimately empty. Before I can respond, Dad appears at her elbow. Arya, honey. He clears his throat. Maybe smooth things over for the family photos? The photographer wants a few more of you girls together. Mom hovers behind him, her eyes pleading. Just forgive her, she whispers. You know how she gets. The familiar weight of expectation settles on my shoulders. Relatives watch from nearby tables, their attention a physical pressure. Will Arya cause a scene? Will she ruin Sloane's perfect night? 20 years of conditioning pushes me toward the path of least resistance. The wedding planner's voice cuts through the tension. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be having the last dance of the evening in 5 minutes. Sloane's fingers tighten around my wrist. Come on, we need sister pictures before Bennett whisks you away. Bennett. The thought of him steadies me, but he's nowhere to be seen. Across the room, Preston's father has cornered him in what looks like an intense business discussion. His eyes meet mine, briefly apologetic before returning to the conversation. Perfect timing, Sloane says, following my gaze. Let's go while he's busy. She pulls me toward the waiting photographer, who positions us against the backdrop of twinkling lights. Sloane drapes her arm around my waist, her smile dazzling. The camera clicks. Another, she commands, closer this time. I feel myself slipping back into the old pattern, accommodating, appeasing, disappearing. The decision crystallizes in my mind like ice forming on a pond. I'm happy to take one photo, I say, my voice quiet but firm. Then I need to find my date. Sloane's smile falters. But we've barely had any sister pictures. Last dance of the evening, everyone. The DJ's announcement booms across the reception. I turn away from Sloane mid-sentence, heart hammering against my ribs. The crowd shifts, couples moving toward the dance floor. For a moment, I stand alone, uncertain. Then Bennett is there, hand extended, appearing exactly when needed, like the final piece of a puzzle clicking into place. May I? He asks. Relief washes through me. Yes. We move toward the dance floor as the first notes of At Last fill the air. Sloane tries to follow, but the crowd closes around us like water. From the corner of my eye, I see Preston's grandmother, a formidable woman in her 80s, intercept my sister with a firm hand and what appears to be an urgent conversation. Bennett's hand settles at the small of my back, warm and steady. I saw her coming for you, he says softly. Figured you might want an exit strategy. How did you know? His eyes crinkle at the corners. I recognize the patterns immediately. My mother was the same way with my aunt, competitive, manipulative, always needing to be the center of attention. The revelation stuns me. So this wasn't just random chance? He shakes his head. I saw how she treated you from the moment you arrived. The seating, The bouquet toss, classic moves of someone who builds themselves up by tearing others down. We turn slowly, other couples becoming a blur around us. I thought you were rescuing me, I admit. No. His voice drops lower. This was alliance, not rescue. You were responding to her tactics with such grace. All you needed was someone to witness it, to acknowledge it. The rest you did yourself. My throat tightens. All evening I'd thought Bennett was protecting me, but he'd been partnering with me instead, a crucial difference I hadn't recognized until now. Look around, he says. I do. The wedding videographer captures us from across the room, her camera lingering. An older couple watches us, the woman leaning to whisper something that makes her partner nod. Preston's relatives, the ones who sought me out after Bennett and I danced, raise glasses in our direction. No one needed manufactured evidence of what happened tonight. Bennett continues. They saw it all, the contrast between you and Sloane, how transparent her tactics were. Truth speaks through actions. However, the song draws to a close. Bennett escorts me toward the coat check area where guests are gathering to depart. I reach for my wrap, and Sloane materializes from the crowd, her face tight with barely controlled fury. You turned my wedding into your dating opportunity. She hisses, low enough that only I can hear. The accusation hangs in the air between us. For a moment, I consider apologizing, my default response to her anger since childhood. Instead, I meet her gaze steadily. No, Sloane, you turned your wedding into a showcase of who you really are. I don't raise my voice. I don't match her intensity. I simply speak the truth that has been waiting all these years to be said. Her face flushes. She opens her mouth to respond when Bennett appears at my side, my coat draped over his arm. Ready to go, Arya? He asks. Sloane looks between us, something unreadable flickering across her face before she turns and walks away. Outside, string lights illuminate the path to the parking area. Our breath forms small clouds in the night air. Bennett walks me to my car, our steps crunching on gravel, wedding sparklers being lit in the distance, casting golden light across our faces. Was this just about surviving tonight? He asks, stopping beside my rental car. I pause, considering the implication of his question. Behind us, the sparklers trace light patterns against the dark sky. Laughter and music spill from the venue. The night feels full of possibility rather than defeat. My answer hangs in the balance between a temporary alliance and something more meaningful, something with roots that might grow beyond this single evening of shared strategy and unexpected connection. I look up at him, no longer feeling the need to run. 3 months later, I stood by the window of my Seattle apartment, phone pressed to my ear, watching the skyline transition from amber to indigo. The Space Needle glows against the darkening sky, a beacon I've come to see differently these past 3 months. I made reservations at that waterfront place you like for tomorrow. Mom says, her voice tentative in a way that still surprises me. Unless you'd prefer somewhere else? That's perfect, I answer, letting the silence breathe between us. Mom clears her throat. I've been talking about things in therapy, about Sloane, about you. A pause. I should have protected you more, Arya, all those years. The old me would have rushed to ease her guilt, to make this moment less uncomfortable. Instead, I watch a ferry crawl across Elliott Bay, its lights a string of pearls against the water. We're finding better ways now, I say finally, meaning it. My phone vibrates with an incoming text. Sloane's name appears with her familiar passive-aggressive check-in. Just wondering if you're still upset about the wedding? You barely respond to my texts these days. 3 months ago, this message would have triggered an immediate response, a careful negotiation to avoid further conflict while sacrificing another piece of my dignity. I set the phone on the windowsill without replying. I'll answer later, on my terms, when I'm ready. The realization settles over me like the twilight over the city. I no longer need her approval to feel complete. Mom, I should go. Bennett's flight gets in at 8. I say, smiling at the thought of seeing him. What began as weekly calls evolved naturally into weekend visits between Seattle and Boston. Not a rescue, as he'd insisted that first night, but a partnership built on mutual respect. He's good for you. Mom says, her voice warming. I see how you stand taller when he's around. It's not just him, I correct her gently. I stand taller because I finally decided I deserve to. After we hang up, I move through the apartment, straightening cushions that don't need straightening. This morning, Jessica from my team had lingered after our meeting. twisting her wedding band nervously. My sister keeps undermining me to our parents. She'd confided, eyes downcast. I don't know how to make her stop without blowing up the family. I recognized the exhaustion in her voice, the weight of always being the reasonable one. Boundaries aren't walls, I told her, speaking from a place of hard-won understanding. They're defining what's acceptable, what you'll participate in, and what you won't. The grateful surprise in her eyes, I never knew it could be different, felt like purpose emerging from pain. The doorbell chimes. Bennett stands in the hallway, overnight bag slung over his shoulder, grinning that slightly crooked smile that first appeared under garden lights a year ago. Traffic from the airport was brutal, he says, setting his bag down and pulling me into a hug that smells of coffee and cold air. Later, we stand on my balcony, his arm around my waist as we watch the city lights multiply against the night. The small velvet box from dinner sits open on the coffee table inside an emerald surrounded by tiny diamonds, chosen because green is actually your color, despite what anyone says. Did you see Sloane's card arrived? He asks, nodding toward the envelope propped against a vase of lilies. Her congratulations, the first genuine communication since the wedding, had surprised us both. The note was brief but lacked her usual barbs, almost as if written by someone trying to remember how normal sisters speak to each other. 70 guests, like we planned? Bennett asks, changing the subject to our vineyard wedding next spring. I turn in his arms, facing the question I know is coming. Should we invite Sloane? The night air carries the scent of rain and possibility. I think of the woman who tried her hardest to humiliate me, and the woman I've become because of, or perhaps in spite of, that night. Yes, I answer. Not because I've forgotten, but because I've grown. Bennett kisses my forehead, understanding in the gesture. My sister once tried to make me feel small, I say, looking out at the glittering city. She only succeeded in showing me how big my life could be without her approval. Inside, I slip off my heels and pad barefoot across the cool hardwood, no longer running from anything, especially not myself.